I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I love printing. Hey, everybody. Want to welcome you back to another session with me, Warren Werbitt, otherwise known as the Print Whisperer. Do check out my website, please. Today, we are sitting with another distinguished guest. Yes, all my guests are distinguished or they don't get on the show. Today, we're sitting with Tom Mounce. Got that right, correct?
Correct.
Excellent. Of Blue Ocean Press in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. How you doing, Tom, and welcome.
Pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So the reason I'm having you is I didn't know you before, and then it was Kevin Abergel of Tactful that suggested I call you guys when I needed a card quickly for an event that I was going to, and I called you guys up, and I just sent you the logo and didn't know what, and they basically designed me a card, fold over card, and it's got the embellishments and the raised UV and some of the textures, and they basically designed it, sent it over to me, and everywhere I go, people are just commenting me. So thank you for the card, and I thought that deserved a place on my show because I want to know a little bit about what Blue Ocean Press is, and then after that, after your little summary, then I'm going to ask you some other questions about what you do. So tell us a little bit about the company, please.
Okay, I started the company 39 years ago, and we started out as a general commercial printer with bindery, the typical general commercial printer. Through the years, I've hired different people for advertising, and some of these ladies that I hired got me into the promotional end of it. T-shirts and hats and mugs and anything you can imagine with your name on it. And then we got into warehousing and fulfillment of those items. And then we went into digital printing. And then we went into signs and banners. So we've kind of got a well-rounded situation where if a customer comes to me and says, we're going to a trade show, we need a tablecloth, we need a backdrop, we need brochures for the table, we need some candy to give out, we need all these different things. I pack it all in a large crate and send it wherever they're going. So there's one neck to choke. So they basically know everything gets there. They open the crate, they use what they need to use. If they have promotional items and stuff they're not going to need, they throw them back in the crate, they send it back to me, I put it back in inventory, and they don't get stuck throwing things away because salesmen don't like to handle things. They like to throw it away when they're done, so you lose all your inventory. So those kind of things help people, but at the same time, it makes them come to me for everything. And again, one neck to choke, and it makes it easier on everybody. So that's kind of our claim to fame on that end of it. And then I got into the MGI machine doing the foil, spot foil and varnishes. And that's a very specialized thing. There's only one other printer that just now put it in down here, and they don't really do trade work. They don't do work for anybody else, and they have a particular customer base for that machine. So they'll never be in my market. My market's more of a custom one-off type thing. And we're getting more and more traction with it. We've had it a couple of years, and we're doing more and more and more work. And some customers use us exclusively because we have that machine nobody else does.
Oh, I think, well, first of all, kudos to doing everything. And I like I'm laughing and I'm smiling because I'm going to use the one neck to choke line in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't I've said some things, but I haven't said it like that. But that one by far takes the cake. That is the best. I used to just say, you know what, you got one person to scream at or whatnot, but the choking, that's wonderful. You know what? You might want to patent that line and make some T-shirts and send them out. One neck to choke. You know, if we don't do it right, one neck to choke. But the idea of how you came about, I think, is pretty cool. I think more and more printers should be thinking about the one-stop shop. When I was in the print business and had my own plant, we were doing the large format. We were doing flexo commercial. We had 56-inch offset for different substrates and signage. And we did all the accreditations, the Pantone certified FSC. And my thinking, like yours, was not necessarily one neck to choke. And I'm going to keep saying that because I just keep smiling. But my idea was if the customer needs something for all these different events and they're brand conscious, come to me. And the first thing we will do is we will manage your brand consistency across all platforms and substrates. So for the customers that actually took their brand seriously and held everyone accountable, those were our best customers, right? And then the second best customer was the customer who couldn't get his shit together, that counted on us to have everything, to hold it together so that when they need it, they knew where to go.
Right.
The third customer, those are the customers that none of us really want anyways, because they call at the last minute. They don't know what they want. They don't want to pay.
Right.
Right. Tell me a little bit more about the MGI machine and what got you really thinking about it and then actually making the investment, because that machine is not cheap.
No, it's not.
And the learning is not cheap.
No, it was all expensive, but basically what it comes down to is about 7 or 8 years ago, I sold my offset presses. I got completely out of the offset business. I send it all out now. I have a place down the street from me, print it all, give it back to me. I do the bindery work on it because I can control it. I can look at it and see what kind of quality job the printer did as we're going through it, as it's being folded or stitched and trimmed or whatever we're doing with it. So it gives us a real good look at the job before we send it to our customers. When I got out of that, I went exclusively into the digital end of it. Well, it took a few years for people to catch on, and now everybody's getting out of the offset business. A lot of them, they're all going into digital business. So now how do I set myself apart from these guys? You know, just push a button and it poops out the other end, and there you have your job. That's pretty much all it is anymore. So now you have to have another process that makes you the one to go to instead of them, because all it is going to be a race to the bottom. Once they all get digital machines, they're all going to say, well, how cheap can I sell this next sheet of paper? Well, I don't want that at all. I want how much money can I possibly get for this piece of paper? And the only way to do that is to put some embellishments on it that make it worth more money to the customer. So I've never been a cheap printer. I've always been known in the industry as a guy that was, how come Blue Ocean Press's prices are so high? They weren't high, they were fair. I actually did studies to find out what it takes to print a job. And years ago, the plate manufacturers would come in and say, a plate costs you $15. I said, okay. So I ran my whole department and wrote down every single plate that I made for a year. How many of them there were, how many times I changed the developer in the plate developer tank, how much maintenance I had, all the rest of the stuff, how much the machine cost, the whole thing. I didn't put labor in it, I just put that. Came out to $50 a plate. So it's not $15, it's $50, and that's without labor. So when you start thinking about all these guys come up and the Xerox says, well, it's going to cost you this much money per click. When you start looking at all that and you add all the rest of the stuff in, the other guys will take that at their word and price the job accordingly, which is really stupid because you really need to add up what you have. You have to have square footage, you have to have air conditioning, you have to have electricity, you have to have an operator, you have to have all these different things. And you also have to figure in downtime. You are not going to run that thing 40 hours a week, exactly 40 hours and get exactly that many sheets off it. It is impossible. You're going to have maintenance time. You have to add all this stuff into it and say, okay, what is my optimal situation here? How much uptime do I have? The whole thing. So how much do I have to charge for each sheet of paper to make it make sense? And most people don't take time to do these calculations. I have an ROI on each, and actually I mean a P&L on each one of the apartments in my shop, because at a certain point you don't know where your money's coming from. You need to find out, okay, this many people are here, here's how much their insurance costs, here's how much their payroll is, here's how much, you know, the payroll costs are for that. Here's what the machinery cost is, here's the material costs, all the rest of the stuff. And at the end of the month, you put that against sales and you find out exactly what your real profit margin is for that department. If you don't do that, you don't know what you're doing. You're just throwing prices out there. Well, how much did that guy say? He said 25 cents. Okay, I'll make it 23. Well, that's stupid because it might cost you 28 and you don't even know. You should know before you start something like that, but people don't take the time to do that. And because they don't take the time to do that, they are out of business half the time because they didn't even realize why they went out of business.
I am sitting here grinning and smiling and biting on my lip listening to you, because I'll send you a link later to a video that I did talking about costing, where I offered up anybody listening my Excel costing sheet that I did that covered 1, 2, and 3 shifts, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% capacity because you're never at 100,
Never.
right? You everything you said. I mean, I bought the first iGen 5 in the world with all the capacity and the extra colors and whatever. And we sat down and I said to them, how much? And, you know, I've got guys selling at 15 cents, 20 cents a sheet. To me, it can't be less than 50 to 60 cents a sheet when you factor everything in, because everything we do is people, is space, is electricity.
Right.
And, you know, I was hoping that COVID would take some of the people in our industry and change their thinking, because the truth is right now in our industry, it's our time to take it back. And I don't mean it's our time to take advantage of the customer. I mean, it's our time to properly charge what we should for print, for signage, for anything in our world, and make the margin we should, because we are in a super, super expensive CapEx industry where the money that we got to put in, and even the small guys need some learning on the costing, because nothing sells for 10 cents anymore, right? Yeah. And I think now, and I'll just take a minute, because I think now is our time. The truth is everything in the world is rising. So that means that we have to rise up to the occasion as well. And I know the other day I sell a little bit of print if people call me, right? I don't really solicit it, but I'm happy to help anyone. And a person called and I gave them a price and they were like, oh, you know, and I'm like, whoa, no, you don't know. I said, you go to the store now. I said, you go to the store, a brick of butter is $9. I don't see anyone leaving it on the shelf. They take it because they need it. Gas is at an all-time high. I said, so this piece of paper, I said, how many times do you think this was in a truck since the tree was cut down, right? The tree to the lumber mill, the mill to the factory, the pulp to the back to whatever, and there was a lumber mill, the paper mill. I said, so just the gas alone, you should expect to be paying more because of transport. And there people are like, well, yeah, I guess. I said, don't guess, don't fight it either. Right. And for every printer who's listening, holy moly, because I'm trying not to swear or use anybody's religious name, but holy moly, paper right now, if you're not making your full markup, you should close your doors right now and get the hell out of this business, because if you can't take it now when you should, you never are going to take it, right? Yeah. And how are we supposed to keep reinvesting in the technology? Okay, so we'll get off that for a moment. I'm thinking if you're one of two people in your area and the other fella, girl, woman, whoever owns the company, if they're for a specific area that they have the machine, have you reached out to other printers to offer your service?
I have. We get limited use from the other printers because, first of all, we're another printer. Even though I don't go after their accounts, I stay away from all of that. It's still, I guess it's in the back of their mind. The second thing is they're still selling for, 10 cents on the dollar, and they don't realize the value added and how much more they could make if they would expand a little bit and go into something a little more fancy, a little more upscale, because there are a lot of people out there with a lot of money right now and they're spending it like crazy. And when you can do something extra special that they haven't seen before, they'll spend the money on it. So you got to find the right end user. So
I also find that people aren't trying to negotiate in the same way.
No.
Right? It's more, you have it. I know, like if someone paper-wise doesn't want to, they want to haggle, I just say to them, hey, there's 3 people lined up to take the paper. Otherwise, you wait another month for it.
Yeah, that's what's happening right now.
Well, and by the way, it's worldwide. It's just not Canada or America. This is the world. And from what some were saying, it might not be corrected till first, second quarter of 2023.
Yeah, easy.
Right? So yeah, we could only cross our fingers on that one. Are you thinking of doing anything else in the company to continue to set yourself apart?
Right now, I'm building. Main department I'm building is my sign department. I've got a lot of stuff in my wide format department. We're staying busier and busier in there, decorating buildings, going into office spaces and covering walls and covering doors. And that's gotten to be a very, very busy department. And it also makes good money because the margins haven't been messed up too bad by that yet. There's quite a bit of expertise involved to be able to even apply all these things. And I have my own installers, so I don't have to hire somebody outside. So when I say we're going to be there Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning, you can bet my guy's going to be sitting there at 9 o'clock in the morning, ready to walk in the door and do his installations. And so the customers appreciate that, and most of the time they don't even get another bid on it because they don't want to deal with somebody who just won't show up. My story with that was that before I was in the sign business, I knew I wanted to put a sign in front of my business. So I called 3 guys. 2 guys showed up. Third guy never even called back. I knew exactly what I wanted, so they didn't have to come in and guess and weren't in there holding my hand. I just told them, I want these plastic letters. They look like this. I want them on the front of my building right there in that size. Okay, simple as it could be. Simple as it could ever be. Anyhow, one guy gets back to me. The other guy never called back. So I get one guy calls me back, gives me a price. I said, okay, you got it. He says, oh, was I the low bid? I said, no, you're the only bid. You got it. Let's just get on with it. How much money do you need down and when are we going to get this thing done? That's how stupid this business has gotten. People don't show up. And this is 7 or 8, 9 years ago. Now I'm doing all that stuff myself and I show up and I travel all over. I went to Ocala and did a big job, but that's 6 hours from here. It's a long drive with our 2 vans loaded with stuff, decorating 3 hospitals. It's pretty crazy, but people call us and they will pay us to leave and go out of town because the people that are local either don't have the bandwidth to do the job or don't know what they're doing when they get there, or don't even call them back and give them a price. They've been waiting for a month to get a price from somebody. Nobody even called them back.
It's funny. And like I said, I sell a little bit of print. I know all the players in print, and I too have called on people, and I'm not calling people unless they're decent sized jobs because I'm not taking on anything small. And I have not even got some calls back from people.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, is business that good for them that they don't have to? I don't know what's wrong with some of the people in our business. We're in a great business. Now's the time to make some money. Everyone needs us. The entire world, every industry needs printers. I don't care what they say. They all buy some type of print. And if it's not a brochure, it's a signage. If it's not a signage, it's a label. If it's not a label, it's an instruction, something, a safety sign. Every business has something. Yet I don't know why people in our industry just continue to march to the bottom line. Or I think it's also time to get rid of a whole bunch of the, how do I say it, legacy people in our industry who aren't willing to change and adapt to the times that they are. Right. I'm sure you bump into, I'm hoping you don't have any of these, but there's a bunch of salespeople in our industry who just don't really want to move or groove. They think it's the old days where the phone rings and the margin's there and you just get the order. Salespeople who think that customers are theirs. Customers today belong to the company. The company owns the receivable. Company owns the technology that's servicing the customer. It's very, it's a very strange and frustrating world that we live in our world of print sometimes. Don't know what people do. How many employees do you have?
21 right now.
And do they turn over?
Not much, no, not really. I have people with me for over 30 years. So,
wow.
Yeah.
You should be proud today because, actually, you know what? You should be proud that they're there, but you should be proud for yourself because it means something about you and how you operate your business, right? That they're still there.
Yeah. Well, they're basically my family. I mean, I'm with them more than I'm with my family. I go home and I see my wife 4, 5, 6 hours a night. And I see
That's why. How long you married?
29 years.
That's why, because of print, because you're only home 4 hours a day. I hope she doesn't listen.
I might just do
it. There's always a reason, eh?
Yeah.
No, but that's me. Honestly, I'm gonna say I feel like I'm listening to an older version of me because literally everything you've said about before. With the working, the doing, and the costing, I've been saying that from the beginning, and then everything with the people. So so this, by the way, to everyone listening, when I say to people, you're old, What I mean is you're old and lazy in your brain. Old doesn't mean a number. It's how you feel and how you act that sets who you are. Would that be fair?
That's
There's a
for
lot
sure.
of young people that are lazy and shouldn't be in our business either, right?
That's for sure.
I just think I think it's time that we take ownership back. We kick out the people that are racing to the bottom line,
Yeah, that's always a
and
problem.
we jump up and down and we boast how important we are to people. It's the only thing I think we can do, because anyone who says print is dead, look around you. Everything's printed still,
Yeah, still
right?
is. People still want to hold a piece of paper in their hand. They still want to have a picture of something. You know, if you're going to go buy a boat, you want a picture of it and you want to go show your buddies, hey, look what's going on here. And you open the book brochure and you fan back and forth through it, showing all the different features of the boat. You're not going to do that on your phone as much as you're going to do it with a brochure. That's why they still print them.
Listen, as I've always said to everyone, I'm big into fishing, and I still prefer my bass catalog sitting on the can as opposed to looking at my phone. You
Yep.
know, first of all, you get to see the pictures, and I like print, and then you get to fold the pages over, and you can come back. On the phone, I never get to the same page I was ever at,
Yep.
right? Unless you start over, which happens quite often. So, anything you would like to tell our, before we check out, anything you'd like to tell our audience or your audience? Because once I upload this, you'll be able to share it and let everyone know who and what you are in the business.
Well, basically, don't be afraid to try new things and learn new things, because if you sit still long enough, you will be run over. You have to look and see what's going to go on next. When I got rid of my presses 7, 8, 9 years ago, however long it's been, I didn't even know. I ignored that fact of it. I got rid of a bunch of different machinery in here that wasn't. First of all, you can't find operators anymore. So if you have all this stuff, you're going to do worse and worse and worse work until the stuff goes away anyhow. So look ahead, get rid of things that are not relevant, that you cannot get operators for, like die cutting and gluing and things of that nature. They're real profitable when they're working, but to find somebody that actually can do it anymore is almost impossible because everybody's retired. And don't be afraid to try new things. Move on. Look at the old things and say, look, I'm going to get ahead of this because I see it coming. You should see things coming. You should see there's a recession coming. Everybody knows this. It's going to matter of time before it hits us. So we have to prepare for that. We have to look at the things we're doing, do them as sharp as possible, as cheaply as possible, and still maintain a decent margin. So the work we're going to do later on, which may be less than what we're doing right now, is going to have to be as profitable as possible to keep us going until this thing ends, which you always get through those cycles. It just takes time. I mean, I've seen a lot in 39 years.
Oh, for sure. And we do that because we want to make sure that we could also take care of the people that work for us.
Exactly.
Right? Like everyone has to know that. It's really, everything's always about the people at the end of the day. People run the machines, people sell, people have to live. So
without them, it's a big empty box. All you do is you go to your shop on the weekend or even in the evening when everything's closed down, you start walking around looking at everything and say, what would this whole big old box be without people? You know what it'd be? It'd be an auction.
Yeah, no, you know what? Oh my, everything you said is so right. The only thing I would add to that is I would encourage people within our industry to reach out to other people in our industry and try and share work or do work, because as the work changes and the workloads shift, you might have equipment that might not be good for you, but for someone else. And the worry, you could always sign agreements, but I really don't think it's as bad as it was in the old days where people would run around to your customers after you bring them a job if it was a trade shop. I think today people are more appreciative, more loyal, more respectful of each other. And I also know in my case, if anyone wants to go to anyone that I'm selling, by all means go, and good luck if you could pull them away from me, because I service my customers to death. So unless you're prepared to go meet me and challenge me, I'm not too worried. But everyone should, because we can help each other too, right? The industry is about helping each other survive. So in your area, if there's anyone listening and you need to do some embellishments, give Tom a call. He's not going to take your customer, for Christ's sake. He's going to help you keep your customer. And you don't have to go spend $500,000 on a piece of equipment, then hire a person.
Exactly, because the learning curve is steep in this thing. It took us quite a while to really get the techniques down, know what papers, what toners, what works the best with it. And we've got down to a point now where I can make samples very easily. So if somebody wants to see just a couple of different things to show their customer here, it could be like this, or it could be like that. I make samples and get people, I realize that's what it's going to take to sell this technology and get people to buy it, is to actually see it and touch it. Once they do, they say, I have to have this. Before that, they say, well, I don't even know what that is. They
Right.
just don't understand it. They don't understand a textured varnish. They don't even understand. They just look at it overall. They think you're going to flood coat the sheet, make it shiny. They don't have any clue how cool the things you can do with this thing.
Not only cool, and although they might think it's expensive and it's not cheap, but if you were printing offset and you had a 24-page book and you wanted to do a spot raised UV, you'd have to have a plate cut out for every page, right? You don't have that anymore. And you have to print the minimum amount of books to make it feasible financially.
Right.
Now, it might be expensive, but you can make 2 books if you had to look smashing if you're going to make a big pitch somewhere, right? So the opportunities, and I don't think anyone should ever think about the cost of the item. I think you have to think of what you're doing with the item to see if the cost is worth it.
Right. What the value is going to, what it's going to bring to you in value.
Right. Because the other way you're going to get stuck on the dollar. But
Right.
it's this, but the whatever you're going to spend is probably the smallest amount in the bigger scope of the whatever project you're working on.
Right.
Right. So it's yeah.
Well,
Wow.
Probably 10 years ago, a guy wanted to sell me life insurance. I already had life insurance, and so I would never take his call. He sent me a little box that was looked like a box of checks coming from the bank. It was all wrapped in a red paper with a bow on it and everything in a FedEx box. I picked it up, I opened it up, and there's 51 brand new $1 bills in there with a little wrapper around it saying $50. And it was all brand new. And I kind of said, I can't believe this guy sent me this. He put it in the note. He says, just take my call. I want to speak to you for 5 minutes. So it cost him FedEx, and it cost him $50 in a note in the box and the rest of that stuff. So it probably cost him $75, $100 to do that, just so I would talk to him. So when people say, oh, that's a lot of money for that little certificate with the person's name on it in foil. Yeah, but that person's going to hang that on their wall for the rest of their lives saying, I got the certificate by graduating this class or whatever. Don't you want it to be special for these people? It costs you another $1 for that certificate. What's the big deal to have something super nice and fancy? And people just don't get that part until you explain it to them. And sometimes they still don't get it. But the people that do get it really get it. They really understand that that is such a small amount of money. In the long run, it doesn't matter.
We, you know, even I say to print owners, even like, you know, doing certain things or, you know, taking your employees to conferences or shows just to let them engage with and see what goes on in the industry. I think it's important. And I always say to everybody, don't tell me you can't afford it. I said, we make bigger mistakes every single day in the life that we live. And that might be not calculating the right time, using too much paper, the consumables, whatever it is. There's no reason not to take an employee to a show that's never seen it to show them more about what goes on in our industry. Right. You know, the bigger picture is it's not about the immediate spend. It's about what the value of the spend, be it with the customer or with your employees. Right. We just have to do it.
Right.
Wow. All I want to say, every single thing you said today was amazing. It was like listening to myself. It was, and I mean, I like myself, but it's not, I don't know if I can listen to myself all day, but no, literally everything that you said was bang on, and I appreciate it. And you have the right attitude. I'm going to get some other people on, and I'm going to have you back on so that we could have maybe a little group discussion going on, and maybe a little bit of people arguing and learning that we are allowed to make money and we should make money in this business, so that we can give it back so other people can make money in their businesses with what we do. Right.
I tell my customers that. I tell my customers, you want me to make money. You may not think you do, but you do, because if I don't make money and you call next week and the phone rings and rings and rings because nobody's here, you're going to wish that I had made a little bit of money so I could have stayed there for you. So you have to understand that I have to make money on every single job I do, not this one and not that one, and then give this away and give that one away. I need to make money on every single job. If there's charity involved, that's a whole different situation. I choose to give that away because I choose to give a nice job away. And I always give the best job away I possibly can, because you never give away a piece of junk. Then you look like an idiot. You always
Right.
give away the nicest thing you can possibly give away. But at the end of the day, I'm not giving away a normal print job. I have to make money on those jobs, every single one of them. It doesn't have to be $1 million, but it needs to be some money that's substantial enough to pay my employees properly and to retool at the end of the day, because all this stuff's going to go south one day. And when it does, if I don't have the money to retool, I'm just going to walk away. And that's no good for anybody.
The truth is, every business should make money with what they do so that they could reinvest in their people, reinvest in whatever it is that they need to keep their businesses going. And everyone should recognize for everyone else, that's the way it is, right? When they're going in to talk or negotiate. Wow. Wow. I can go on and on and on and on with this stuff with you because it's so real and it's so true. And all I want to talk is about all the real stuff. But for now, I want to just say, wow, thank you for my spectacular card. Just show it to everybody again, fold over, great. They do design. It is a commercial because they really did a wonderful job for me. And I like to promote everyone who does good. But yeah, Tom, thank you for coming on. Thank you for everything you say. Thank you for the business cards, and best of luck with whatever you're doing as you continue to do it. And if anything good new comes up, let me know, and we'll get you back on to shout it out to everybody.
I appreciate it, Warren. Thank you.
Great. To everybody else who watched and listened, I hope you listened. If you didn't listen or you don't remember listening, go back and watch it again, because everything Tom said this time is great and has real meaning. For the rest of you, come back and keep watching. Go to my website, go to my YouTube channel, sign up everywhere you can. Warren Werbitt, for what they think. I love print.